Welcome to the Fempire podcast for women building empires where your health, relationships, and wealth rise together. Here we focus on what moves the needle the most. I am your host, Jessica Joy. Let's sharpen the axe and dive in. Today, we have a special guest. This is Lauren, and she is the owner of St. James Salon. She is also the creator of Beauty Resonance, which goes actually into the nervous system and some of the inner beauty part of ourselves. She's a third-generation cosmetologist, and I would say an expert at helping women radiate from within. Obviously, cosmetology is a lot of the outer beauty, but she really brings in the inner. And so we're going to dive into her knowledge, her expertise, her background, so that we can implement some of these things ourselves. And she's even brought a gift for all of you. So Lauren, welcome. We are so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thrilled. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm excited to share more about the work that I do to support women in feeling their best selves.
Yes. Tell us about your background and how you got into what you're doing and how it's evolved. You have some new ventures coming with some of the deeper work.
Yeah, I do. Gosh, how do I make that succinct? So I grew up in a hair salon. Both of my parents are cosmetologists. Both of my grandmothers were cosmetologists. And I took naps in tanning beds when I was a kid. So I grew up in a salon and I swore I would never do hair. I did everything I could to not do hair. I was going to be an accountant. I was going to be a marine biologist at one point, which I still love the oceans. And it was just kind of the way things happened after high school. It was like, well, it might as well. It's not going to hurt anything to have a license. I'm already kind of know what I'm doing. And so I continued in college to get my business degree. So I have a business degree as well. And then I got my cosmetologist license at the same time. And as I was in that process, I just really fell in love with helping people and being in the space with people and the community that created. And then we actually did a stint of about 12 years doing weddings. So I specialized in helping women on what I still consider one of the most important days of their lives, get ready for the day. And so in that process, we saw a lot of the insecurities that come out in people that you wouldn't expect insecurities to come out from. And, it's high pressure, it's high stakes for everybody. And so a lot of my job was actually, of course, the hair and makeup and helping them feel beautiful. But part of that was just the synchronicity within connection in that time. And how do we keep the space calm and how do we regulate? And at the time, I didn't know what that meant, but we were co-regulating with these women and these beautiful people every weekend, every day. And so fast forward, things shifted, changed, moved, and I no longer support in weddings, but we now support in so many other ways in the salon and also now virtually. So as I let go of weddings, that was like a big experience for me to let go of that part of my business. And I moved into just supporting clients in the salon and what does that look like? And we started doing some sound baths in the salon to raise the vibrational energy in the space. And it ended up changing so much in the space itself. And then with that, we kind of, I started going deeper in my own work around boundaries and codependency and some really deep wounds. And as I continued that process and I really went through the numbing phase and went through the angry phase and went through the disassociated phase, I continued to go deeper and deeper and find more of who I am.
Oh my goodness. I love how your work kind of opened up your own journey. And it makes sense that you help people with their nervous system now, but definitely starting in the weddings, man, I can't even imagine the activation in some of their bodies that's going on. And there's so many pieces of this big decision and the rush of it all and all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is so fascinating how it's unfolded and along with your own journey as well.
Yes.
Of healing, bringing sound baths into a salon. This is genius. I've never heard of this. All the salons they'll add in features you can have your wine at the salon. But I'm sound bath is way better.
Yeah. We do herbal teas.
That inner healing.
Yes. Yeah. Herbal teas, sound baths. We've added now, we're starting to do guided meditations in the space. We do heart math, which is part of the work that I'm doing now, is heart coherence and how we connect the heart and the brain together. And so it's been a really beautiful evolution to experience, to lead, generate and then to just be able to see the new humans that kind of come through that experience and then out of it on the other side is really phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, something that stood out to me about you and your work was pairing the inner and outer beauty. And I really do think they need to go together. There's only so much you can do on the outside. It's almost like, I do health and body
Yeah.
transformation coaching. And if people are so much about, okay, I'll be happy when my body looks a certain way, or it's coming from a place of trying to fill something,
Yeah.
it really doesn't set them up for great results or for them to be it's like there's always gonna be something. It's like, "Well, then I could get my hair this way and I could be tighter here," but it's like when we do the inner beauty work, you can call it, it's
Yeah.
like there's such a state of acceptance and relaxing and all of that.
Yeah.
So, I would love to know better, like, what are some things that people can work on internally to source some of that inner radiance or some of the things that you work on?
Yeah. So through the work that I'm doing with this, I find a lot of women actually, especially when we get into the high performing space, a lot of women are in their masculine energy. And so one of the beautiful things that I've seen through this process is actually women who are high performers who have lived in their masculine, even, I mean, some of these women are in their 70s and just don't want to feel this way anymore, right? Because it's internal. It's like they look in the mirror and they don't like what they see. So how do we work through that? But the other side of, what really comes in that's really beautiful that I've seen is the feminine that comes in, that women actually can reconnect to their feminine after being in a masculine energy for so long. So that's really cool. And so
Yeah,
some of the
tell us more
tools,
about the work that you do.
yeah,
Like, yeah, paint
um,
this picture more because 'cause we're very
yeah.
curious to what you're up to. Yeah, just like, what is this? Tell us more.
So, yeah, what we do is we essentially go into identifying the belief systems that we have within our brain, but mostly within our body. And so that comes through some embodied work that is often not it's not part of the mindset work necessarily, right? It's really like, what does that feel like? And if that's not something you've ever tuned into, it can be challenging. You almost feel like I'm doing it wrong, right? So we go in, we identify those beliefs, and then we actually go into the next phase of releasing them and thanking them. Like they were there for a reason. They got you where you are. It's such a beautiful part of the experience. And it's okay to let them go now, right? Like it's okay to say goodbye, to say thank you, and to move into the next phase of your life that is more rich, more aligned, more fulfilled, more vital, all these things that allow us to really live wholly and fully so that we're not sacrificing one part of our lives to get the other. So how do we really bring all of that together? That's kind of the holistic element that we have within the salon and within our beauty spaces. And so after we, release those beliefs, then we go into actually creating new ones. Like what do we want to believe, right? Like we get to decide. We get to decide every single day, every single moment, how do I want to feel? And how do I get to show up for myself in integrity with my values and really showing up for me? And, in return, we get to show up for everyone else around us. And then throughout each of those steps, we also are integrating using heart coherence. We're using nervous system tools with the body. We're using some of those embodied coaching methods. And we're actually integrating each of those throughout the whole process so that we don't get to the end and we just like plateau back into where we came from. The body actually needs to be rewired into this new space. And so we do that each step of the way so that we feel safe as we do it so that we can open up more capacity for the next layer and the next level of our growth.
Wow, what a process. And I really acknowledge how you've created this. Even when you talked about dismantling some of the beliefs,
Mm,
thanking your beliefs, bringing it into the body,
mm.
uh, it almost felt like a ritual where it's
It
like,
is.
I'm consciously making this
Yeah.
decision that this
Yeah.
is what it was, um, and making so much peace with it. The thanking piece, I've actually haven't heard that
Mm,
specifically. Like I've caught it in like different ways, but
yeah.
I think that is one of the best things you can do. Like what a beautiful journey. And it's obvious that you bring the body in. And I always think of like, okay, with clients, it's like, okay, we want to get them to a certain place and
Yeah.
kind of lock that in and then add more. Like this expanding
Yes.
it. You just have such a beautiful process around it. And then bringing in
Mhm.
what do we want? How do we want to feel?
etc.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm
Yeah.
curious with some of the ladies that, what do you think changes in their life? Or what are some things that you like all the coaches I talk to, it's like it's all about what you change on the inside and then
Yeah.
it opens up what will change on the outside.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear maybe from your journey or different ladies that you've seen do this work, like
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah. So, one of those pieces, we have a client who's recently gone through this process with us, and she's really feeling a lot more grace for herself. Like, we actually have stats to show that, she's got 40% more presence in her beauty rituals in her day. She's got 60% more compassion for herself when she falls into some of those nervous system patterns, and she also has the capacity to get herself back out of them. And so that's that's the work. Like, we are all going to fall into a pattern, right? We're all going to, in those moments, our body is built to keep us safe, and we're going to go right back to that. But the capacity to actually say, this is a problem, or this is maybe not a problem, but there's space here to grow. There's space to evolve and to feel it, to see it, to know it, and then to do something about it and to have the tools for it. That process itself creates so much empowerment that it just brings you into the next level. And so, we see people having better relationships with their spouses, their partners. We have people who are having better parenting relationships. They have more emotional range of resonance for their parenting so that they can show up more for their children. And there's just this really beautiful symbiotic relationship that happens when we work inward and what it comes outward as. My own experience, I've found just like this ability to show up with so much life and power, and not in like a power over, but really just a power within and without. And that's like, there's something so fabulous about that. And it also it just allows people you become a magnet to other people because you've changed your own aura, you've changed your own energetic field. And so the things that you want in your life just kind of show up. And that's just like such a miracle. You like walk through life and you're like, how did I get here? And so to see clients actually having this experience of, they spend more time on themselves. They have a higher love for themselves, a higher connection with themselves. They have more compassion for not only themselves, but for the others around them. And so their days are just simpler. They're softer, right? But they still have what it takes. Like we create the boundaries on the outside of it because that's what actually allows us to have really safe relationships with ourselves and with others. And so when we have those really strong boundaries on either end, you kind of have this container to hold the creativity in the feminine that gets to just like bloom so beautifully because you've got the container for it. Yeah.
Oh, you have so many nuggets of wisdom in there. Whereas, yes, the concept of patterns that we're in, it's wild how many subconscious patterns we can be running that, like you said, it's not exactly robbing you of power, but it's definitely kind of cutting you off from presence or putting you more into your sympathetic nervous system, especially if it's like some of the self-beat up type of things where we're not being compassionate with ourselves, we're being hard on ourselves. And that's something that we work on in our coaching because it's like you cut off so much presence and possibility and creativity and resourcefulness when you're in a state of judging yourself or any of it. And so it's amazing that you're giving them these tools to not just have an awareness, but really change how they're operating, getting out of these patterns, creating more presence and sovereignty, to be putting their energy to much bigger things. And then, like you said, the word aura, it's so like... Actually listening to something about aura, like your aura today, and it's something that you can build and develop, and then you magnetize things to you.
Yeah.
This is glorious. Oh, I like to keep things open-ended. Is there something while we're here that you really want to get across to the people listening?
Okay, this is my new favorite thing to share with people because I think it's really powerful and it allows us to get out of our brain, which is our society lives very in the brain. Like I live in a world, you might live in a world where we're kind of not, but we're really small compared to the larger scope. So Heart Math Institute, if you haven't heard of them, I highly recommend checking them out, has done studies since the on the way that our body's nervous, like the actual neural patterns that wire within the entire body and the pathways and how they function. And so my favorite little tidbit is that within our neural pathways, 80% of the signals are moving from the heart to the brain, with only 20% moving from the brain to the heart. So it's kind of wild. We like think we can outthink our bodies. We believe, we've been taught that we can like out mindset shift the way that we show up or how we're built or, you know, all these things. And the reality is that we actually just can't. Like under no circumstances, the heart is always going to overpower the brain. And the heart is having this electromagnetic kind of field pulsing within it. And so we do a practice called heart coherence. And I do this daily. I do this with children. I do this my own children with, you know, my clients. And we move through, and it's actually so simple, but we move through to connect the heart to the brain and allow those pathways to just be on the same wave. And so the way to do this, I'm just going to give you like a really quick snippet, but if you want to, we can do it, or I can just tell you how to do it, whatever feels good.
Wait, you would walk me through it?
Yeah, we can do it together.
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. I'm
Great.
so down. I do some of my own meditation practices. I think I might do this intuitively. Yeah. I'm like, I'd love to know more. When you said heart coherence, I was like, tell me more. So
I know.
Yes, let's go in, and then anybody listening can, you know, kind of go along the ride themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're driving, I mean, maybe do it later. You can do it at the same time, but you just can't close your eyes in it. So that's okay. You can do it with your eyes open. Okay. But I recommend closing your eyes and bringing your hands to your heart center and really just kind of starting here, just noticing where your breath is, taking a pause, just being present here and now. We're going to imagine a golden thread of light coming into our heart. And this light is going to grow, it's going to pulse, it's just moving with you. And as you breathe in, we're going to visualize, think of, create an experience of love, unconditional love. If that feels obtuse, you can also just truly think the word love or say it aloud. As you exhale, we're going to send out on the breath gratitude. And again, this can be a visual, can be a person, pet, or it can just be the word. So we're going to breathe in together, love, and we're going to exhale, gratitude. Send that out on the breath to someone you love. Breathe in love, exhale, gratitude. You can envision that thread of golden light being sent out to someone you love, many people you love. And we just repeat this process, breathing in love, breathing out gratitude for 5 to 10 minutes. We won't take all that time today, but as we ease out of this practice, you can just go ahead and gently flutter your eyes open, keep your gaze soft. Just take a moment to notice how you're feeling now. Where does that light shine inside of your body? As we come out of this, you can just contain this feeling and bring it with you as you move in to the rest of your day. You're welcome.
Man, that was really bright. That was a lot of love. I would give you a hug if I could. I love that practice. I feel like the more we can connect those feelings in our body and like the thoughts or visions that would trigger those, like the better state you're going to operate from.
So the one we recommend if you don't have one is a puppy or baby. Visual of it's just a little funny to kind of say it that way in the process of the meditation. But when you start, if you don't have like an unconditional love in your own life, just any puppy or any baby is automatic filters of love and light. And that's actually studied by the Heart Math Institute. So puppies and babies.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's helpful. Yeah. So it's like, oh, this feels conditional.
Nope.
Unconditional, it's like you just relax. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. What a beautiful practice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for receiving and being with me in it. Appreciate that.
Yes, I have. I always tell myself, I'm like, do the thing that's the scariest. That's the most exciting. And when you offered the two, I'm like, well, it's scarier to do it. So like, let's do it. Not that it's scary, but it's just more stretchy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's like fear in the body is also when I think like fear and excitement is a green light to go. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
yikes. It's
Yeah.
like, that's so
Yeah.
next step. And I love how much you're bringing in the body. I think that's the next, not evolution, but expansion in kind of the personal development world. More and more
Yeah.
people are going into the body, into the nervous
Yeah.
system. And it makes sense. It's like our mind's powerful. But then when you just shared the data of all the neural pathways from the heart to the brain, like, wow. So, all right. So, you have brought a gift, Lauren, that I want people to be able to access.
Yeah.
So she has brought, it's called a Beauty Bridge Audio. It is a 4-minute practice, different than this one, but could you give us a little bit of context on it and what to expect there?
Yeah, so it's guided audio. So you'll hear my voice as you move into it. And it's essentially we are going to ease into and out of a practice where we get to reconnect to ourselves and also to beauty in the world so that we can reconnect that back to ourselves. So it's a short practice. It's you don't have to have anything prepared to do it. You just get to be in that. And I do recommend having quiet space, but you can do it on a walk if you need to. It's not a have to close your eyes in it. So you can definitely just enjoy it in a space where you have 4 to 5 minutes. And it's a really beautiful way to move in or out of a tenuous point in your life. So if you're coming home from a day of work and you just need a pause and a space before you go back in to your household, or maybe you're going into a meeting and you just need some of that space before you go into the meeting to feel centered, it's a great way to do that.
Thanks for pointing out the transition times. Love that. Okay, so I will link that below. And then if you are somewhere else on the podcast, you can always reach out and say Beauty Bridge Audio, and we'll get that to you. And I'm a big advocate of body practices. Those 5 minutes can totally change the next half of a day. Sometimes I'll be like, do I want to take the time to go inward? And I'm always happy I did. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, why was it? Every time. And often there's a disconnect that it's like, okay, I can't quite feel the white light, or I'm not receiving it, or there's something, and there's this little bridge. It's so interesting that you called this a bridge, where it like reconnects you back to your heart anyway. So what a gift. Thank you for sharing that. And Lauren, how do we find you? Where do we find you on Instagram? Is there a website that's ideal to find you? Tell us.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, website. The website is www.stjamesthesalon.com. ST, not fully spelled Saint. Yeah. The Instagram is St. James Salon, STJAMES, SALON. And then Facebook is the same, and you can find me in all of those places. I'm there all the time. You'll see me, and I would love to connect with anybody that's interested in just connecting. If you find the work interesting, intriguing, you want to go deeper, amazing. If you just want to say hi, amazing. I'm all for building connections with others.
Thank you so much for adding to the conversation here for women building empires. It's so much from our inner transformation that we're able to change the aspects and our experience of all the things and what we're going to be able to attract in our health, wealth, relationships. It all starts from within. So thanks for shining a light on that and giving us tools and literally walking us through a practice. That was phenomenal. So thank you everybody for listening. Lauren, thank you. Is there any last nugget you want to share?
Just thank you for having me here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this experience with me. It is a journey, and we all get to be on it together in different phases, and just, honoring everybody and where they're at right now, because it's exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yep. Pure acceptance. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, listeners. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.